Well then, since Archer will be released today on March the 13th, a day before the recording actually, I think we'll just be generally speaking talking about what type of characters does work pretty well with her as well, whether it's, support or just harass potential. But overall, I do think that's kind of the main premises for this video, so we'll be talking about quite a lot of different survivors and how they can counter almost all hunters and work really well with Archer. So let's get into it. The first one would be Forward. Forward is quite a nice character to use when pairing up with Archer. You can use your balls to stun the hunter first and allow the Archer to have a bit of an easier time aiming towards the heart of the hunter to either A, guarantee a stun to prolong that stun, or B, just to land some laceration effect on towards the hunter, so then their movement will still be nullified regardless of what happens. But not only when it comes to mid-kite support, it's also balloon harass that works really well with Forward too. What you could potentially do alongside with Forward is you can just hold your bow up first, because there's no way that the hunter would, generally speaking, pick up the survivor immediately in front of the hunter. I mean, if they do, Forward gets a free ball stun, that's no problem at all. Then you can use your bow and arrow to get that stun or get that laceration effect on towards the survivors. However, most of the times I think what would happen is the hunter will stand still for a little while, and during that time as well, your bow and arrow should be around, a good decent amount of progress before it is fully auto-targeted. Right, so during that time as well, I do think Forward is, honestly speaking, quite a nice survivor to pair up with the Archer. Not only are you allowed to mid-kite harass, you can also balloon harass really well with Forward. Then we have Enchantress. Enchantress might be overlooked sometimes, however, her kit does definitely work really well if you think about it too. Enchantress being able to gain stuns after each hit simply just means that regardless of how, regardless of whether or not you do land that bird eye shot on towards the hunter to stun them, you don't necessarily have to. All what you need to do is to land your bow and arrow on towards the hunter, get that laceration effect on, and then Enchantress uses her own mini stuns to slowly stack up the laceration effect, just so then the hunter either A, stands still to allow Enchantress to move away, or B, Enchantress continuously 5-second stuns and forcing the hunter to gain that 100% laceration effect and then get injured. More or less for Enchantress, I do think Archer works really well with her. Not only is the fact that Archer can shoot from very far away, in which it does not disrupt the Enchantress from gaining her stacks, for example not losing 77% of her original stack build up. It just works pretty darn well if you think about it too. Look, if let's say Ench really needs that stun, then what you could say is Ench can continuously do single stuns, meanwhile Archer gets that full lock-on stun on towards the hunter, stuns the hunter for 2 seconds and lets Ench get away for a little bit of time. However, I would say one of the cons when it comes to this is you don't really want to stun the hunter and then Ench cancelling your stun. That is one of the biggest issues as well with playing with random. So at least now you know, hey, there's still some risk in playing Ench with Archer. Then we have Prospector. Prospector is surprisingly a very good character to use. We'll talk about Prospector's stun first. Prospector being able to stun the hunter for a very long time, and Archer being able to stand far away from the hunter as well, just means that Prospector does not get that 50% stun duration reduction when, Archer is nearby, because Archer can shoot from really far away. But not only that as well, I do feel like Prospector, not only is his pull-in stun good, it's also his pushback stun that kind of makes a big difference as well. Take for an example, if an Archer hits the hunter, right, and then the hunter has laceration effect, and then Prospector pushes back the hunter during that time too, not only is Prospector further away from the hunter also requires more distance to pull themselves towards the Prospector, so they have to stand still. Because of Prospector's initial magnet pushback and because of the distance he has already created, it just feels like Prospector is a really nice candidate when it comes to, a mini support from Archer, just so he can prolong the kite and create more distance away from the hunter. hunter. But of course, once again, Prospector definitely works really well as a balloon harass too, where Archer aims, Prospector just runs around a harass, meanwhile Archer is at a very good distance away from the hunter. Then we have Cowboy. Cowboy is a little similar to Prospector and to Forward in a sense, but there are two different ways to play Cowboy with Archer. The first way is Archer can hold her bow and arrow, meanwhile Cowboy tries and get the balloon rescue. If Cowboy fails the initial first balloon rescue, then Archer gets that perma-lock stun on towards the hunter, and hopefully speaking, either Cowboy goes in and body blocks, or Cowboy's lasso is ready once again for a second try at, you know, the lasso balloon rescue. That is option number one. Option number two would be Archer perma-locks the hunter with her bow and arrow, and then Cowboy does not balloon harass rescue. What Cowboy does is, right after Archer has stunned the hunter and then the survivor has been dropped down from the balloon, Cowboy immediately lassos the survivor, pulling distance away from the hunter ASAP. This is not a bad idea too, considering the fact that Archer is a perma-lock stun type hunter once she gets that 100% stack. But like, these two honestly are more or less the best ways for balloon harass type of, you know, harassment against a hunter, let's just say it this way. But not only that, Archer works well with Cowboy simply because Archer can land the laceration effect on towards the hunter, and Cowboy uses his lasso to pull distance away. There's no way that the hunter can, you know, keep maintaining their movement speed, because if they do, they get stunned. So what's most likely going to happen is once Cowboy pulls away, he's going to put a lot of distance simply because of the fact that the hunter has to stand still and wait until the laceration effect is over. Then you have Entomologist. Entomologist is quite a nice survivor to pair up with Archer. Entomologist has her bees, in which her bees can push the hunter back. Her bees can slow the hunters down as well. In a sense, if we just talk about kiting first, when it comes to kiting, what most likely will happen is Entomologist will place the bees down to block the hunter's route, and then the hunter has to hit the bees either once or twice before the bees either fully dissipate or Entomologist takes them back. During that time as well, what do we know? We know that the Ento has pulled a lot of distance away. We know that Archer can just normal pull a bow without the auto lock or without the instant stuns, because since Entomologist has pulled so much distance away already, if she still has her bees, great. There's no way that the hunter can actually catch up to Ento on time because of laceration effect too. So they have to stand still meanwhile Ento runs away. And not only that, the second part of all this really is just when it comes to balloon harass as well, Entomologist being able to utilize her bees to force the hunter to stay in one area and force the hunter to hit the bees just allows, you know, Archer to have an easier time when it comes to getting rid or just auto locking the hunter with that stun as well. So for me, I do think Entomologist is a very nice character to use, whether it's harass or containment. Then we will have Cheerleader. Cheerleader, not only is her, you know, item reset good for Archer, because her item reset is 20 seconds. Archer's arrow is, I'm quite sure, 12 seconds, so that works really fine with that as well. But it's not only that as well, it is Cheerleader's encouragement. Cheerleader's encouragement increases survivor's movement speed by 5%. If you think about it, when the Archer has her bow and arrow, you know, when she holds on towards her bow and arrow and gets the target locking on towards that hunter, that 5% movement speed boost will help out quite a lot when it comes to harassment too. Right, because then you do kind of move a little bit faster. 5% might not seem like a lot, but it is quite a bit as well. And it's not only that as well, it just feels like, you know, when it's Cheerleader supporting the Archer, when she is containing, that also does help out quite a lot, because not only is she able to move faster while using her bow and arrow, it's also the fact that she can use a mini speed boost for herself alongside with that 5% movement speed boost to pull distance away from the hunter, so then like it's harder for the hunter to land the stun without getting rid of the laceration effect. Then we will have Painter. Painter is generally speaking one of those characters in which he can help the Archer out or the Archer can help him out. In one way, from the Archer's point of view, Archer can land a laceration effect on towards the hunter first, and then Painter has enough time to look at the hunter's face to get a painting out. Because, you know, in one sense, definitely yes, the hunter is either going to have to, you know, stand still until the laceration effect is over, or they run over to get a hit on Painter, but by the time they finish getting a hit on Painter, their laceration effect is probably at 90%. It's probably not enough for the laceration effect to be over right after one basic attack hit, so at least Painter should be able to get out of painting enough, and just on time as well. Like 66% painting after laceration effect and one normal attack hit it's very doable. It's not impossible. What I would say probably is it's definitely very, very, very possible as well. But not only does Archer help Painter, Painter also helps Archer too. In one sense, once Painter drops down his paintings and he runs away after getting his 2% extra movement speed boost, Archer can kind of perma-lock stun on towards the Hunter just about on time and land a bow and arrow on towards them, in which this simply just means that Painter gets to pull a little bit more distance away because it's a 2-second stun, and just prolong the kite for a tiny bit longer. Overall, Painter and Archer, they do go pretty well hand in hand, but I guess it does depend on the player and your randoms as well from time to time. Then you have Antiquarian. I would say Antiquarian more or less is kind of, I would say everyone understands where I'm coming from with Antiquarian, right? For Antiquarian, more or less, you get one stun on towards the Hunter and the disarm, even if Archer is nearby. The disarm debuff won't come true. As in, like, disarm was supposed to be 4 seconds, but now it's 1 second because there's a survivor nearby. That does not necessarily speaking work for Archer, because Archer can be, so far away from you as well, and just not be within the zone of that disarm debuff for the Antiquarian. So Anti and Archer works really well when it comes to that contain type in the game. That's a bit weird of a phrasing, but it just works really well when they're containing or support containing. But then not also that, it's also the harass potential too on the balloon. What could definitely happen is, Antiquarian most likely is going to be able to get a swing, swipe, or stab on towards the Hunter on time. So then, like, that's a mini 1 second stun. However, most of the times Antiquarian need to use that second stab or swing to stun the Hunter once again to allow the survivors to run away. During this time as well, Archer can be at a safe space where right after Antiquarian manages to land those, disarms and those stuns, all what Archer needs to do is to pull out that bow and arrow, either land the laceration effect or the stun on towards the Hunter, and it's a successful rebound kite already, because there's nothing you can really do against a long distance type harasser, right? So like for Archer, it just works so well with Antiquarian as well. Then we will have Dancer. Dancer is quite an abnormal type of survivor to pair up with the Archer. Both, in a sense, are long distance type support characters. Both, in a sense, well, one in a sense is a long distance type harass character too. But more or less, if you think about it, female Dancer slow music box works well with Archer because you run faster than the Hunter. That's a pros. Right, and if you run faster than the Hunter, then that means the Hunter needs to use their items to catch up towards you. So if Archer landed that laceration effect on towards the Hunter, then it means right after them using their skills, they would be stunned. And it's not only just the slow music box, there's also the fast music box. Fast music box allows you to run even faster away from the Hunter. So if you're able to pull more distance away from the Hunter, that's generally speaking brilliant. Not only is that brilliant, it's also really good for Archer as well. If she's in the fast music box area and the Hunter is not, she's able to pull that bow and arrow and still gain a little bit of a movement speed boost away from the Hunter too. But like, I guess a lot of, like, speaking of Archer as well, she does have her mini leap back too, which you can stack 60% laceration if Archer is the one containing as well. So like for Dancer, she's like she works both ways, whether it's slow music box or fast music box, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Archer that's the one containing. It can be another survivor that's containing. Archer just lands a laceration effect, or even Archer just holds on towards her bow and arrow, and in which it's very easy for her to actually stun lock, get that 100% stack on the Hunter because of slow music box too. So with that, Dancer does work quite a lot of ways. Then we have Psycho. I think for Psycho it's going to be relatively short and sweet. Psycho being able to heal that Archer from a long distance away. In a nutshell, Psycho works well with any harasser type after all, so I guess there's that. Then there is Coordinator. Coordinator, more or less, you could say it's very short and simple as well. One gun, bow and arrow, boom, done. But I think it's not only that too. In another sense, what you can potentially say is, as long as Cordy is nearby, the Hunter also cannot pick up the survivors too. So like, as long as Archer stays away at a relatively safe distance, there is 100% no way that if you and Cordy, the archer and Cordy, goes up towards the hunter while trying to pick up the survivor together, there's no way that the hunter is going to be able to pick up the survivor without getting a single stun. Because if you think about this, right, if Cordy doesn't use the gun because the hunter is chasing after Cordy and Cordy gets hit, you already perma-locked on towards the hunter. So during this time as well, what most likely would happen is the hunter will chase you and then force you to get rid of your bow and arrow, or potentially speaking, you can just leap back and then gain 60% laceration stacks on him already. So, and then like, even if you don't have your bow and arrow, there's a Cordy's gun that the hunter still has to be worried about, and by that time you already wasted 30 seconds, so you don't even necessarily have to rescue the survivor anymore because you've already wasted 30 seconds of the hunter's time. Yes, it's 2 survivors against 1 hunter and another one on the ground, but like in a sense where if there's only 1 Cypher machine left, that is such a huge plus with these 2 on your team. Then we will have Gardener. Surprisingly, Gardener, when she breaks the chair, you'll start to realize that, oh wait a second, if the hunter is bringing a survivor towards the chair and I haven't auto-locked the stun on towards the hunter yet, but the Gardener got rid of the chair already and the hunter's forced to drop down the survivors and then fix the chair, after all that time, you definitely would be able to perma-lock the hunter too. Right, so like, the Gardener is a little bit unexpected, but now that I think about it, yes, it definitely does work. If the Gardener gets rid of the chair on time, let's say it's a corner chair and Archer is nearby at a safe distance permalocking, then it's definitely 100% very, very, very doable for either A, the survivors to struggle out, or B, for you to be able to instantly rescue from the hunter with the survivor on the balloon. Right, so like it does work both ways. It definitely does work both ways. Then you'll have Lucky Guy. I guess Lucky Guy is just Lucky Guy after all. I mean, he has a gun too, which works well, which we talked about before. It's just Cordy once again. Next will be Night. Night, surprisingly, is not a bad pick too if you think about it, because like Night counters 70% of the hunters, right? And like if Night really wants to, I think what he could potentially do is to double attack predict while the hunter has laceration effect. And what do I mean by that? If the Knight double attack predicts while the hunter has laceration effect, it means Knight can run away from the hunter, right? And the hunter is forced to use their items. When the hunter uses their items, it's either a dash or it's either a, you know, maybe they want to throw something out like an Ant's Cash, an Ant's Cross, Geisha's items, or even, let's say, Wax Artist. But like, even with all that, well, maybe Wax Artist hard card is 9 to be honest with you, so maybe we'll take Wax Artist out of that equation. But like, if you think about it, if the hunter uses items, most of the times, right, they're either distance pulling or something. So if he double attack predicts, not only is Knight forcing the hunters to use their items, to waste their items, it's also the fact that the hunters can't attack Knight. If the hunter is very close towards Knight and the laceration stacks, has been applied, then if it's an 8-second nullification, let's say, if the Knight's prediction, well, the Knight's prediction is 8 seconds, then 8 seconds should be more than enough time for you to reach from 50% to 100% laceration stacks. And not only that, Knight can just pull so much distance as well during that time too, since the hunter can't attack you anyway, aside from them using their skills. Now, of course, there are some... Now, I'm not saying there isn't, but like, there are definitely some, you know, exceptions to the rule, such as... Ivy is one genuine exception to the rule. The other one is Wax Artist, which basically hard counters Ivy. And let's just say the last one, but not least, you could say another fast movement type character. Hula Blue. But then, like, if you think about it, Hula Blue also does move pretty fast as well, but you just have to be careful of the red zone. But like, if you can get the items out before the red zone lands on towards you, overall, Knight is not such a bad character to use up against. You know, not to use up against, to use with the Archer. Thief is quite an interesting character to use when you pair him alongside with Archer. Thief works pretty well in quite a lot of aspects. When you flash your flashlight on towards the hunter can, well, the hunter basically has the normal move and cannot use his items too. In one sense, the hunter can turn their back on you and wait for laceration effect to be over. However, during that time, you will perma-lock the hunter's abilities anyway, so like, even if they do want to moonwalk and hit you, they need to walk quite a long distance to even get there. So like, when it comes to Thief, he's quite a nice character to use alongside with Archer. But not only that, I do feel like for the likes of Thief as well, just having, even if it's just, let's say, Archer going up against a Hunter, if you have a Thief nearby just to even body block for you, or even to flash a flashlight while he's standing right in front of you, that's also a very nice thing. It just means that you don't have to use your leap back, your crossbow, in order to, get that one of your laceration stacks and, stun the Hunter and get away from him. However, Thief more or less he's a little bit of a 50-50 scenario depending on how well the player plays him and how well you can, how well you land your bow and arrows, because there are often times where you might accidentally land dash bow and arrow on towards the Thief instead and does nothing to the Hunter at all. So like, Thief isn't a bad character to use, very good when it comes to supporting Archer, very good when it comes to, stopping the Hunter from moving and then not allowing the Hunter to actually use their ability and then full stun them afterwards if they really want to chase after you or some other survivor that they were currently looking after or chasing after. Last survivor, which does come off as quite a bit of a surprise for me as well, is actually Wendy, Meteorologist. Meteorologist, at first, she doesn't seem like a very good counterpart or a very good collaborator with Archer, but if you think about it, maybe not so much. Let's rethink about this real quick. So, Meteorologist, if Archer lands an item or her laceration on towards the Hunter, Meteorologist can use her clouds to pull a lot of distance away from the Hunter too. Right, so like, not only is the Hunter forced to either use the items to catch up or to either keep moving, it's always going to be a 100% laceration stack no matter what. But aside from all just about Meteorologist, let's talk about support and harass potentials. Not necessarily speaking, right? I don't think when you're playing Archer you should land a 100% stun lock on towards the Hunter. You should just get the laceration effect on towards the Hunter and then let Meteorologist do the support harass. Why am I saying this? It's because of Meteorologist Wind, her Gale. Her Gale does work pretty well if you think about it. She can perform a really big Gale to push the Hunter back, and not only has she pushed the Hunter back, it's also the fact that the survivor that the Hunter was originally chasing is so far away now. And with the laceration stacks already applied to the Hunter, I don't think the Hunter is, honestly speaking, going to be willing to keep walking until you get stunned with laceration again. So like, what's most likely going to happen is right after Meteorologist has used the Gale, the Hunter will stand still for like 2 to 3 seconds until that laceration effect is over. So like, if you think about it, Meteorologist kind of does work pretty well, not only when it comes to supporting the Meteorologist when she contains, but also with a secondary harass type character that just allows to give you a little bit of a more of a support too. But that is all it for who pairs up really well with Archer. All survivors that pairs up really well with Archer. Hopefully you learn something new, but if you think there are maybe some different characters that work well with Archer, or even if you think that I'm wrong, do feel free to tell me. I will be looking down below, but that is it for today. Hopefully everyone enjoys Archer today, and I will see y'all in the next one.